Okay, welcome to this fifth installment of the teachings on the process Enneagram. In this video, we'll be talking about the meal preparation metaphor. This is a way that we can flesh out how the law of seven interacts with the law of three, the so-called shot points, to create a process of transformation. Okay, so looking at this in terms of the meal preparation metaphor, okay, we start out with life. Here we are playing and enjoying life, and then we get hungry. We get an initiation, a rumbling in our stomach. It says, we gotta go eat. So we move over to the kitchen where we prepare the kitchen for our meal preparation. We have to see what utensils are in the kitchen and what resources we have. And is the kitchen clean and tidy and orderly and ready to initiate a process so we can set our initial intentions of meal preparation as we prepare the kitchen. And then we begin to plan the menu. What are we going to eat? How is this going to be nutritionally helpful? What's in season these days? And how can we, what's properly priced in the market and so forth? Think about who's going to be eating with us and what their dietary needs are. So we start to plan the menu. And then we need some infusion of energy from the outside. We need raw food. Raw food comes in from the outside into the kitchen. And here we actually see what we have to work with. We've actually got raw food, and we begin to prepare this food in the sort of sous chef way. We cut and slice and dice and get all the elements ready. But in that food preparation, we may find that we have to make changes to the menu. And so there's a connection, as you see, between 4 and 2, because when we actually see what the food is, maybe some of it's spoiled, or maybe some of it wasn't in season, or whatever, we actually get the raw food, we may have to make changes to the menu. So we have a connection between 4 and 2, and we have to connect between the food preparation and the kitchen readiness, because we have to use the proper utensils at 1 based on how we're preparing the food at 4, what the actual food is. We need to make sure we have a potato peeler peeling the potatoes. And if there is no potato peeler, then we can't peel the potatoes. We need to dice them or julienne them or whatever we do with potatoes. I'm not a chef, so however you prepare potatoes would be the change depending on what this raw food is and what we have available in our kitchen. So we have a connecting line between 4 and 1. Here between 4 and 5, there's an irreversible transformation that occurs in the nadir of the Enneagram, in the process Enneagram. There's a kind of death here, is what the nadir represents, or kind of existential facing of ourselves. And in the food preparation metaphor, this is represented by the fact that raw food is now going to become processed. And once we start cooking the raw food, there's an irreversible process of transformation by fire that's taking place with the cooking. So 5 represents cooking. And now we're on a completely different side of the Enneagram. Now 5, as we're cooking the food and preparing it, would then go into 6 in that we have the community enter. So now we have people coming into the dining hall, into the space, and we're basically turning the food over to the community. So we're surrendering the food to the community. We're no longer in control over what's happening. So far, all of this has been about our preparation, our work, our control, and now we're surrendering it all to the community. The community's going to eat it and enjoy it, and they're going to maybe critique it and evaluate it. So we're turning it over to the community, and the food is for the community. And once we do that, we present the food. Here's this guy presenting the food to the dining table, and the proper aesthetic, beautiful presentation of the food is the point 7, with flowers on the table and candles and really nice diningware and so forth. We make it very enjoyable experience to want to eat the food. And then 8 is the point of eating and enjoying the food. We actually dig in and we get our food, we get our needs met, our satisfaction of our hunger. Notice that both the food presentation and the eating relate to the cooking. So there's lines of connection between 7 and 5 and 8 and 5 in that we have to cook the food in order to match the presentation. So we want to cook different parts of the food and bring them together in a beautiful presentation for 7. And we have to cook them in a way that's not too hot, not too cold. It has to actually be properly cooked, properly prepared, so that it will be a pleasant experience and actually will want to eat and enjoy it, and it will be digestible, and it will be edible at 8. And so there's connecting lines there. Notice also the connecting line between 7 and 1. We can only present the food with what we have in the kitchen, with the trays and the plates and the silverware and the candle stick holders, and all the rest are based on what's available in the kitchen. And so there's that readiness, and of course the intention that we're setting in the kitchen finally comes to manifestation with the presentation of the food. And there's a connecting line between 8 and 2, because the eating of the food and the enjoying the food relates to the planning of the menu. Who's going to be there? How can we attend to that person's needs, their dietary restrictions, their taste preferences, and so forth? How can we make it an enjoyable experience to actually eat the food? So all those connecting lines relate to each other. And then finally, we have the period of digestion, which mysteriously, after the digestion and the integration of the food, eventually that energy gets burned up as life enters. Now we're moving outside of the process altogether, we're moving back out into life. And then we're going to eventually get hungry again. We're going to initiate the process again, which is how the 9 is both digestion or integration and initiation of a new process. Notice also the connecting lines between 9, 3, and 6, because all of these are also related in a way. The raw food coming in from the outside, the community coming in from the outside, and then the inverse of that, we going outside into life, or life entering back into the food preparation process. And so all of these 3 are also related. And so what I've given in the handouts that are going along with this video series are a little bit more of a description of these connecting lines in chart form. So you can see here the example of the red, the connecting between 9 and 3, and what that means. And also framed in terms of the virtues, which is just one aspect of the personality Enneagram teachings I'm highlighting by showing and describing this food preparation metaphor. So you see the virtues of right action as 9 moves to 3, magnanimity, the ways in which 3 gets the magnanimity, the virtue of magnanimity is supported by the 9, and so forth. So this is a way of learning the food preparation metaphor and learning the connecting lines within the Enneagram, bringing together both the process, going around the process change, along with the personality Enneagram, seeing different qualities and how they these steps in the process relate to the Enneagram personality type patterns. So that's could be of interest. I've done that chart for all of the 9 types. You see here, the other types are in these charts, and that gives you an introduction to the process Enneagram, as well as how these steps in the process relate to the qualities of the 9 personality types in the personality Enneagram. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of a sense also of how the shock points are representing some kind of energy or action that's raking into the system, something that's essential to keep the process moving along.